Hi, my name is Bruce. What we have here is the Northern Lights done in blue and white. They're very bright in the sky. There's lots of stars. It's a very, very, very dark night, and this was our part one of a part two series for the Northern Lights. When we painted this, we started with a blue, red, and a green. But if you notice in the painting itself, there's no red and green. I did that on purpose. I stayed to the blue and the white area with a very dark ground. So that'll bring out the northern lights and it'll also bring out the stars. So we're going to go on to part two where we use a lot of color. What I'm going to do, I'm going to paint a red here. Then I'm going to paint a blue, then a green, and I'm going to leave a bit of black. Now, the paint has to be transparent. So the red paint I'm going to use, starting off with, is going to be alizarin crimson. Nice and red. And we're just going to paint that right into our canvas. Now, just to remind you, the canvas is a acrylic covered black and dry. So that's dry board that you're working on, and it's acrylic. That's very important. It's going to bring out a lot of the black when you're using transparent paint. Now, as I'm painting, I'm trying to visualize in my mind where the northern lights are going to be. They're going to be sort of like a flow, so if I want red, then I have to make sure that red's going to be in that area. So I put the red on. Next color that we're going to do a blue. Now the blue, going back to the red first, this is all a transparent paint. When I put the alizarin crimson on, it's transparent. I wouldn't put something like cad red light or cad red dark. Those are not transparent. So that's very important. The idea is you want to be able to pull white into the color, the transparent color. So if with the blue, you can use a phthalo blue like this, or you can use a ultramarine blue. That's transparent. Cobalt blue, that's transparent. Stick to those type of colors and make sure it's transparent. All important that you have transparent paint. So we have a red, now we have a blue. The next color that I'm going to put down on the board is going to be a green. So I'm going to use a green. I'm going to use a viridian green, but that's transparent. So I really want that in there too. You wouldn't use, chrome oxide green, for example, because that's not transparent. So all my paintings are designed for the beginner. So for the beginner, it'd be a good idea to do a little research which is transparent and which isn't. And when you're doing a painting like this one where you're going to be pulling a color over it, transparent should be the background paint. So now we have a red, we have a blue, we have a green, and I left the black. It's going to be for our foreground silhouette type of thing. So let's start off with making our northern lights. I'm going to use white, titanium white. And what we're going to do, we're going to draw what I call ribbons in the air. So let's just say we want to, let's say right here, we want a ribbon in the air. Here goes your ribbon. Now all I'm doing, I'm just going to go to here and stop. All I'm doing is putting titanium white over my transparent color. And I'm putting a lot of titanium white, not just a little. If you find that it's picking up too much of the background color, add more white to it. There you go. Just wipe the ends of your brush off if you're picking up too much color. Let's say this one's going to be down here. And I am picking up an awful lot of color there. So I'll be cleaning the tips of my brush quite often. I'm just making a design which basically flows with the sky. If you ever look up the northern lights, they look like just a fan out of color. I spent a great deal of time up north, and one of the areas was Fort Churchill. Their uh, northern lights are basically green. So you could take this Viridian green and you could do the whole sky with green, and it looked very realistic. So I'm just doing a splash of color, like so. Now, that's all you have to do. You just put white. Now where the ground is, I think what I'll do is put a little white across here. Now, this is going to allow me to create northern lights from the bottom up too. So let's get to work on creating the northern lights. And we have a bunch of ribbons in the air, I call it. And you just pretend that they're flapping in the winds, and that is what you get for a nice design. So let's pick a nice soft brush, something that is a bit stiff on one end where the bristles are, so that you can pick up some paint. My favorite brush just seems to have disappeared. Well, I'll try another brush. I'm going to try a little 1-inch brush. And all I'm going to do is pull the paint into the air. Let's see how it works. No, this brush is not stiff enough, but we'll just keep doing it for the time being, and I'll go change my brush after. Now I want to pull this way up into the sky. You see the colors that it's picking up? The green, that first color we put on. And now we're going to go into the next color, the blues. Now I'm pulling up, just straight up, more. Now when you're doing this, allow a little bit of darkness in between where the color is showing. I'm going to wipe my brush off and change it to a little stiffer. You want a little stiffer brush. All right, let's try down here. There, aren't they beautiful? And that's exactly how they look, just into the sky. Now, if you get to this point and you decide, well, there's not too much color in certain areas, just go back and put a little white. Just dab a little white in, like so. And go back and gently pull it forward again. Just to add more color. Now when you're all finished this, take a larger brush. I'm going to take this 2-inch brush, nice and soft, and I'm going to pull it all very gently up. I'm trying to get all that beautiful color running together. There you go. The bottom ground, we're going to paint black. And down here you can now start putting little trees. Just going to use a fan brush, load it up with black. And let's say there's a tree here. again. And let's just say there's a smaller tree over here. Now the trees, when you're up north, and put a little grass showing up. When you're doing trees for up north, make them very skimpy. In fact, some of them only seem to have a half a side to them. The weather up north is very fierce, and the trees aren't full like you normally see in the parks and stuff like that across Canada. They're very scarce looking. So I put a couple more here. Now for the beginner, all I'm doing is taking the end of my brush, loading it up with paint, and I'm pushing it and just moving it back and forth. There you go. And we'll put another little guy over here in the corner, just to say he was here. Don't want too much. I guess they're lonely. We'll put another big one over here. And there you go. There's your highlights. There's your trees. I don't want to put in here. You could put some green or white into this area here. You could turn a little bit of snowbanks and everything. But I sort of like this dark silhouette. So there you go. There's your Northern Lights Part 2. I hope you've enjoyed it. So let's just review what we've done. The first thing that we've done is we painted our board with acrylic black and allowed it to dry. Second thing that we did, we used transparent paint and we put 3 different colors in. Remembering, if you want to do it all green, just use one color. But you must have transparent paint. Makes all the difference in the world. Third thing we did, we painted little ribbons of white into the sky, showing the design and the motion of the northern lights that you want. And then we simply took a brush that had a little bit of stiff bristle to it, soft but stiff, and we pulled upwards. Always straight upwards. When you come into an area like this, you pull upwards. You don't go to the side, you pull upwards. And if you find that you haven't put enough in certain areas, then you just add a little bit of titanium white and you pull up. And as far as the area in here, I use just a silhouette, but you can actually just add a little snow and highlights to that. Any color that you see here, particularly blue would be nice, and you can end up completing the foreground also. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Until next time, happy painting.